lighting on. Yeah. Okay, that might be all right for now. Okay, guys, let a few people get in here. Got a little time on my own here in the new house. Um, and I figured, hey, let's do a live show. I'm one of the people who as many people are on the internet, as many people who have grown up with the internet now that it's been around that long and things like that. It's amazing how excited I can get over regular, really nice internet. I shot a video earlier on the old phone here with the DU recorder of something that I thought was really funny to me. And in the course of a few things happening over the last few days, unpacking boxes, looking at this new Legion of Superheroes. You know, sometimes there's an elephant in the room that I just kind of want to talk. We talk about the hobby of comics here. We try to stay positive here. We call out the BS and stuff. All right, awesome. I'm getting comments on the better quality here. We're going to work on the lighting and possibly a microphone over the next month or so, right? But a new prop I'm going to have is the cane, right? This is before cosplay was everywhere, when it was like a few individuals who had a lot of nerve to get together the items they needed for their costume, more or less when you really got in there and it was the love of the character, the love of the idea of dressing up and going to comic book conventions. I did the Riddler there for a while. It was a safe bet. It was a safe bet. You didn't show a lot of skin. You had a suit. I could wear my jeans a little bit, my ragged off jeans with my little Riddler overcoat and stuff, right? Hey guys, Charlton 66 is here and stuff like that, right? So this is a prop left over from my Riddler days. Um, Probably haven't dressed up like the Riddler seriously since about probably like 9 years now and stuff, right? But the cane can evolve, right? Like I've turned into that old man that's going to shake his cane at the old kids and stuff, right? You just gotta own it. You gotta grab it sometimes. You gotta wonder how you get there. You gotta become the old man a little bit in order to have some fun. Okay, who we got here? All right, we got Creature, we got Charlton 66, Rob Ripa, and Comic Fan. Well, strap in, guys, because we can talk about anything tonight. I've got nothing but time tonight for the first time in a while. The only thing I really have planned tonight is I realized I've never read these because it took me so long to find number 4.
Here are some results from a search.
Excuse me, my phone is so rude. But I was talking about how I was reading up on Elric again and reading all that stuff. All right, hey, big man, Charlton 66. Hope you're doing okay, brother. All right, but I was talking about Elric here, right? Well, not only is Elric in the novels, but anything that Michael Moorcock lets him appear in is canon, even with the stories, right? And years ago, this is getting weird. Years ago, we had Michael Moorcock come in with Walt Simonson. They did this 4-issue prestige format where it's a prequel to Elric. It's how he became the sorcerer. It's a prequel to the first book, if you will, right? I realized I've never read it. I think I've read the first one, flipped through it, and these are all signed by Walt Simonson. I got them signed when I was at Baltimore Con with Charlton 66. I got a cane as a gag gift when I turned 40. Sadly, I've actually needed it twice since then. Eric Beam, yeah. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to kind of purge things, right? Because you just got to, people come to this channel. I actually still have people who have been here since about 2011, 2012. And YouTube has always been something I did as a hobby. And they've actually here. And we're not the same people we were, or I'm not at least, as I was when I first started this stuff, right? So there's things to shake the cane at now and stuff, right? And one of the things to do is to continue enjoying the hobby. For me, it's gone all the way back in a circle here, and it's all come to me here. I knew this was happening, but it's come back to where you were that little kid with a stack of comic books by yourself, reading them, and you're reading that book, right? It's you and the book, you going into that world, right? It didn't really matter all this other stuff. With me, I would read the inside cover. I love the advertisements with the X-ray glasses and the sea monkeys and stuff, right? I love the gutters of the comic. I love the letters pages, the little editorials, the other comics you can go buy. It's sort of like you could have actually one comic like from Marvel, and if you read all the editorials and the blurbs and the comic books and stuff like that, you went on your own path finding this stuff. And while you were doing that, it's sort of like the weirdness found you because all of a sudden you started getting a nose for it, or you would start noticing that there were comics somewhere, or you would pick up on things, and the hobby just sort of grew from there. Then as you got older, you would get other interests, D&D, heavy metal, um, certain movies like Dark Crystal, Indiana Jones, and all this stuff, and you would start finding out that people like Mike Ploog, Jim Steranko, and all these people worked on storyboards and design. The big one is the John Carpenter's The Thing, with Mike Ploog doing some horror there and stuff, going all the way back to his Werewolf by Night and his Frankenstein's monster and stuff like that. And that's kind of what kept you in the hobby. Now, what's changed is comics went mainstream as much as they could. I will always stand by the fact that I said that there is a stigma in with comics. So I'm just telling you, don't fool yourselves. It's one of the things, very few things that I'm kind of adamant about, because it's exactly how it should be. It was sort of that idea that you had a little secret on the side. I never gave a crap. I just knew how other people looked at comic books, and I've talked about that many times over the years. But with the internet and the world changing, shake the cane, get out of my yard, you damn kids. Um, you know, you kind of, to me, I've got to, it's like a bush I got to prune, man, if I want to enjoy the hobby. I'll talk about that in a minute. Cool Elrics, I need those. I'll let you know if they're any good. I mean, I love all things Elric, but you know, I still stay objective. If I can't be biased, I say it. But I'll tell you if it's good or bad. You know what I mean? John C is out there. Dennis Hayes out there. Good video quality, homie. Yes, I'm very happy about it. Thank you, Comic Fan Lab. So, some of the things that I've had to do to start enjoying the hobby, again, a little bit better. And like I said, this isn't all dramatic. This is, like I said, something we do on the side, something where, if I get 100 hits on a video, I'm pretty satisfied, because to me, I feel like a lot of people that watch my videos are still, I call it the pure fans. It really is about the comics and what goes in the comics and stuff, right? That's just how I am. Seeing the big picture and being able to connect dots and seeing what comic book influenced this, or what writer, artist, slash whatever you want to do there, has a character that used to jump from series to series as that creator worked on it. An example of this is Super Scroll. If you follow John Byrne's work, you had Super Scroll pop in Fantastic Four, and then Namor, carried over probably there's probably another Alpha Flight. He was an Alpha Flight. So you had the story of a character. There's little fun things like that kind of kept you in there. You could follow a creator, follow a writer. You had your perfect art, and all this was done with just a book in your hand. You know what I mean? And every now and then you find somebody to talk about it with, trade with it, make friends with. That's we're all here. And I've talked about all that for a few years, but there are things that I just have to say that they're like barnacles with the hobby for me. Barnacles on a ship, and I'm kind of scraping them. And some things can come off harsh when you say them, but the idea is that there's, when you run across people online, you're not really meeting them. You get what I'm saying? You're not seeing the flesh and blood of the person. You're not looking at them eye to eye. You're not having a heart to heart talk and stuff, right? You're just seeing a few comments here and there. And Twitter is the worst. Twitter has got to have the worst communication I've ever seen for the millions of people that are on there. And then when you get even bigger on that, there's something like, let's talk about America. There's something like 350 million people in America. And they'll get on Twitter and you'll see things trending, or you'll see all these people speaking up about things. And it might be, I've seen it be 3,000 people, 258,000 people, maybe a million. It's not even a fraction of just the people in America, and Twitter is worldwide. So you can't really go by that. If you fall into that stuff, you really get an skewed view of how things are on anything, movies, comics, music, whatever they're talking about. It's a few people being the loudest, and you kind of think everybody thinks that way. You start feeling like you're an outsider or something if you try to speak up. So these are the things that got in there. We all know about the comics. We all know about the comic book channels. All right, people are talking. Dr. Silver Age is here. So some of the things I've done for the hobby is, first of all, I left a bunch of Facebook groups. I've done a purge before and stuff, but it gets really, I don't know. It really kind of drains you a little bit, or just kind of kills some excitement for you when you see people popping up there. You can tell they never read comic books, but they want to come off like they have. They've been in comic books 5 minutes, and it seems like they want to say edgy things. They don't really want to appreciate something or talk about it or dissect something if they don't like it. They're saying things to be edgy. People always say it's the big thing I saw is they don't like Watchmen. They don't get it. They didn't understand it or something like that. I don't think they really read it. When you've been if you've done anything for a long time, I mean, even talking about driving, been in the military, read comics, made models or anything, you can talk to people and you can kind of tell that they're bullshitting you. That's all there is to it. They're just bullshitting you. They're there for attention, or they want to be part of something online. They want some kind of online drama. I can't wrap my head around that. Thus, the cane, shaking cane at the kids, get them out of there. So I just got out of the yard, more or less, kind of left them where they're at. And I was part of quite a few groups. I would get invites by my friends. I would see things like the Art of John Yushima. It would be specific creators and things like that. And then you just saw these, there was one site that I was on, and it was actually really good, but I think it was called the Comics of the 20th Century or something. And it was just this one dude posting constantly comic book covers, not saying anything. And then I would pop on there every now and then and get a little conversation going. People would not really respond to a lot of stuff because this dude, I could say his name, just killed it. So I just left the group. Facebook groups kind of blow my mind because you have people that want to complain about what's going on in them, and I don't understand why they just don't go make their own group page and run it the way they want. That's somebody else's page. It's got administrators. He's got rules. They got a theme. Go on and make your own. And of course, you had I want to say you had the woke people hopping in there. I was in a pulp covers, old pulp novels, showed off the covers and the artwork and stuff like that. And people would come in and try to make it political when we're talking about the artwork of great old pulp novels. So I would write that up while I was leaving and how this was an infection, and I would leave, and those very people would ask me to stay, which was what was blowing my mind. And I'm like, but no, you're not here for what this group was set up for. Go set up another group to talk about the political stuff. Is how I felt about it. And I think that's a two shake on the cane, meaning I was right. So my whole Twitter is going to change. I know we're talking about social media, and I'm still in the mindset that when it comes to social media, that's a young kid's game. You know what I mean? I've used Facebook since 2009, and somehow I already had an account on there earlier that I had no idea about. When I started dating somebody in Roanoke, they told me to start a Facebook page. I was already there. I had no idea when I opened it. Then the kids took off to Twitter. Believe it or not, Facebook is not cool amongst the youngsters there. I worked in schools for 5 years, 6 years, 5 or 6 years. They actually laugh about Facebook because there's even those kids are dying to have it. I think it was a reaction to the fact that you had to be 13 and then 18 or maybe have your parents' permission. There was a lot of things going on where the kids couldn't get a Facebook, so they went to Twitter, thus saying that Facebook was bad. All right, Sequential Geek is here. Greetings, Howler. And then we have Creature. Everything is like this. For example, the movie Joker. Seriously, they have attacked it before they saw it. I'm seeing it tomorrow. People inject stuff in silly places. Yeah. Oh man, I wished I just had a little conversation about Joker, and I had like the perfect thing to say. Um, I watched a great movie that was actually based on a true story called As Much as You Can, as it could have been, The Basketball Diaries, Jim Carroll. People watched that. I don't remember seeing a great big huge heroin outbreak. But my biggest thing is that Joker in the movie The Hustlers, uh, Jennifer Lopez is in it. Joker is a fictional character, right? It's a basically, I think the big problem is that it's about a white man reacting to society, treating him like crap is what they think it's about. Who knows? And with today's political environment, where being a white male is basically makes you the devil. They've been saying that for years in different ways, shapes, and forms. I think that scares them that this is a movie that could be empowering somebody. but it's a fictional character. Well, nobody has actually seen the movie, right? But then you have a movie called Hustlers. And basically, this is based on a true story of a bunch of women. I think one was a ringleader of women who would strip for men, drug them, steal their wallets, live the high life, and this gets applauded. Um, I, now, it's apples and oranges here. We're also just talking about movies. Do I think that a bunch of people can go out and start stripping and drugging people and stuff like that? No, no. I mean, I can see fantasies and see it being talked about. And you always have your crazies that go out and do stupid stuff anyway. So it's not like 100%. But I think there's a hypocrisy there. One's a fictional character and they're scared to death of this movie and want to be tearing it down. And then you have Hustlers, which is celebrating real criminals, you know. And actually, the main lady that that movie is based on, I think, is suing the screenwriters or the movie studio or something to make a profit off her crimes, which I thought was illegal. But she found a lawyer that said she could. So that's what I mean. This is the stuff I'm talking about. Interesting to talk about, but with today's political way where things are political and people just wanting to dive in there and having something to yell about and be divisive about and have something to react to and stuff like that. You can't have grown up talks about this stuff. People are too deep, too invested. It's become too much of their identity. So, fictional character about the Joker, a fantasy tale, versus a true crime that really happened. It's been sensationalized. There's a lot to dissect there, a lot to look at and say, like, this is what you're celebrating. Yeah. I mean, if you really want to have the talk, Joker comes up way ahead, way ahead. And I think it's going to be fantastic that whether Joaquin, wait a minute, Joaquin Phoenix gets an Academy Award or a nomination or not. I predicted the first time I saw the trailer that this will be the first time that a character, the Joker, causes two actors to win Academy Awards, Oscars, whatever it is. All right. I think it's going to be that good. Plus, there's behind the scenes stuff with the director saying that he's left comedy because of the woke cancel culture and stuff like that. There's more to it than just the movie. I come from the era of the parental label brought on by Tipper Gore. You know, the Senate hearing with John Denver, dude from D. Snyder from Twisted Sister. I can't remember who the third guy is. Where Tipper Gore looked at her husband Al and said, "I want a Senate hearing on this stuff. Have you listened to this heavy metal music and stuff?" And if you can go further back, where certain churches, not all of them, I do not bash religion, but there are churches who know to control people. You give them a common enemy and they make some money because they got to fight that enemy. To me, it's all smoke and mirrors and bullshit. I've seen it all before with rock and roll. Going back to the Beatles, where John Lennon said something stupid, and he admitted he said something stupid, and they had Beatle record burnings. Well, they had to go out and buy those albums and stuff, all the way back to Elvis thrusting his pelvis around and stuff like that. This has all been done before, seduction of the innocent and stuff. But now the people have agendas and they're more transparent, and it's also a trend. It's a fad. This is what they do online. Shaking that cane because I see you. I see you lying to me. Get out of my yard. Frank Zappa, Rob Ripa jumped in there. Of course, Rob Ripa would be up on the music stuff, right? Go check out Rob Ripa's channel. He does some fantastic original music. Go check him out. Ooh, what we got here? Sequential Geek. Mastodon Comics and Collecting is here. What's up, brother? Ben G76 Show. Great to see you, man. Shameless plug, Tim, but if you're looking for any books, GPAP is having a sale tonight. He's got to sell everything. I saw that, but I just moved. I didn't, oh God, who was it? Undisputed Frost sent me a link last night when I was in bed. We got a big time zone difference and stuff, right? I'll plug that. Yeah. Tonight, Gene Paul Ace Peter, I'm not quite up on what's going on, but I think he's, we'll play Dusty Rhodes here and do the old, wrestling thing where like he's feeling hard times, right? So I think he's having a great big huge comic book sale tonight. So check him out. I'm sure it's going to be in 30 minutes to an hour and a half or something like that. I'll probably end if a bunch of people want to go watch that, let me know, and I'll just end the stream around that. Frank Zappa went to the other one. We already said that. Okay, Paulo Costos here. Thank you, man. Good evening. It's past midnight here. I have a deadline and I don't feel like working. Been there, brother. Been there many times. Yeah, thanks, Mastodon Comics, for letting me know about GPAP there. I'm not going to participate. I'll probably send them a message. I just did a huge move. I'm kind of tapped when it comes to the mad money, if you will, for a little bit. Okay, so what I was talking about is I've seen all this stuff, but see, that's the thing, that takes you a little bit out of going right back to what I was saying about all these things being attacked, the movies, the pop culture and things. You just kind of got to set it to the side and let the kids play because that's basically what it comes down to. Um, you know, I don't like putting everybody under an umbrella that plays around there, but I'm going to be, but I want to keep a Twitter going. I really don't enjoy Twitter, but I jump on there. So I'm probably going to be restructuring the whole Twitter. I'm going to be following, unfollowing people. I'm probably doing more of the blocking certain words and stuff like that because again, you say things people want to get inflammatory and blow it up here, but we're all adults here and stuff. But I'm kind of tired of hearing about Comicsgate and stuff, right? It had its time, it's had its place, but how many times can we hear Star Wars sucks? How many times can we say, okay, the writers at Marvel are woke, DC is woke, they're doing stupid stuff, they're doing this, they're doing that? How many times can you say it? Now go buy my comic book. Okay, you know what I mean? I'm like, now go to my Indiegogo and buy my comic book, right? It's a business now, you know what I mean? And it's the same video over and over. And I did a series of 3 videos 3 years ago that pretty much said it all. And a lot of the videos I see hardly ever bring up anything new, but it did sort of expose some of the business, expose some of the lack of integrity with a lot of people in the business, and it really exposed a lot of the journalists on these comic book sites who really just want to go work in comics. So there's a lack of journalistic integrity there. Now, people have come up with a defense there before saying they never claimed to be journalists. I'm like, you have a typewriter, you're reporting news, you're trying to get clicks, you're making the news instead of reporting it. I come from the early days of Wizard, comic scene, Overstreet Price Guide, real intellectual um, interviews with Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, people in the business and stuff, real history lessons. I discovered James O'Barr's The Crow through those things with a great comic scene. I still have it. These things used to be, sure, there's a little quid pro quo. I'm going to give you an interview if you put my book out there and stuff, but there was still some integrity there. There's a business side to it. And that gets a lot of people hot. You just can't say things that are impersonal and it's an observation. You choose just not to do it. You go on, you can't do that anymore. Again, we go back to the days of it's just you in a magazine, you in a book, you in the news, things your hobby before we all got connected online, before the Marvel movies and things like that made it go really mainstream. Okay, what we got? On Twitter, I mostly interact with comics out of context. That's always funny. Yeah, if you're having a good time on it, go for it. Van Sciver's the main culprit. Van Sciver saw an opportunity. I knew about Van Sciver and his attitude and things that he did from way back in Facebook, like in 2009 and 2010. He used to record himself playing the piano, making fun of the neighborhood and making fun of who was it? The UPS guy or something, right? And he was also with, I don't know if it was his first wife or a girlfriend or whatever's going on, but he was dating somebody that really knew their guns. I think she went to a girls' school. I mean, they really put their stuff out there. So yeah, I knew about Van Sciver's online tactics before he came up there and saw an opportunity. Van Sciver got a new house out of it. Good for him, man. He found people willing to give him money, and they got a product out of it. No doubt about it. Can't really slight the guy. I agree. I've almost stopped debating people. No one knows how to debate respectfully anymore. Creature. Yeah, yeah. And that's where we come in shaking the cane. I'm really beginning to wonder if it's just a generational thing. It seems like it skips a generation, being able to kind of be grown up about things. I've got stuff I've gotten pissed off before about. I've got stuff I don't expect anybody to be. There's a song, Winners and Losers by Social Distortion, that I would love to be able to play and talk about and stuff. But it basically comes down that we have demons and angels inside of us. Which one we want to listen to today? And it's to me, it's all about where nobody's perfect. I'm not talking about people not getting upset about something. I'm talking about people getting upset all the time. They're like little kids. They just want to hear what they want to hear. The cane. Everybody raise your cane. Raise your mistake up. Oh man, I look like, oh yeah, I look like I'm out of a New Gods. Starman. Okay, sorry, getting carried away. Sequential art. Obar is my jam, man. He was in, yeah, okay, Obar. He was in Michigan last month. He and the Caliber Comics crew spoke at a panel. It was so good. Sequential art, I would have loved to have seen that. First time I met James Obar, I'm not gonna lie, he freaked me out. The second time I met him, it was very cool. First time I met him, he freaked me out, and I turned around to kind of walk away, and I walked in. Right there was Jim Starlin for the first time. I'm like, I can't do this. Had a moment. Scott Connor just got home. Good to see you, brother. Linger longer. I am too guilty of beating the Seagate horse to death. Now I'm just trying to enjoy the good comics and avoid the bad ones. Here's the deal of what I'm talking about, man. I'm not the guy to come in here and condemn nor wave the flag for Comicsgate, man. I had the chance for my YouTube channel to be huge a year before Diversity Comics and stuff like that. The videos are there. I've told a few stories here and there, but never really got into it, right? The thing about it is that the irony is the same thing I say about Legion of Superheroes and a lot of the comic books now and stuff. It's the same thing over and over. Bring us something new. We're not going to answer that. Bring us something new. You're creating content on there. Call it what it is. But it's the same thing over and over. And I'm really surprised how people can handle hearing the same thing over and over again. It's like I'm saying, Star Wars sucks. Okay, comic books suck. Writers are woke. They're messing up the character. All this stuff like that. Yeah, it's the same thing over and over. But amazingly enough, and except for one or two of them, you never see their comic book collection. There's some people that came in there that I think they're just doing it because if you put SJW in a title, you're guaranteed a ton of hits. Used to be 4,000. I did an experiment one time and I would get 4,000 views right off the bat. I love the Crow. Harsh story with Thorough Heart. I've got two videos on the Crow, and it's really hard for me to do anything with the Crow talking about it and stuff because man, that book will suck you in and drain you emotionally, and it will stir things up in you. That's why I consider that book a work of art. True art, no matter what the medium is, brings things in. BG76 show. Damn, Howler dropping Social D lyrics. I knew I liked you for some reason. 16 years old, my first Social Distortion song was Ball and Chain, and then I heard Story of My Life. Don't Take Me for Granted is a one that I'm like, you better listen. So let me get my eyeliner on, my pompadour, and shake my cane out there with them. They're still out there, man. It gets dull very quickly. I think we're talking about what I was talking about. Yeah. It's the battered spouse syndrome. Yes, Scott's what we talked about this. They keep coming back to the same thing, knowing nothing's going to change. Yeah, it's kind of like Image back in the day. Image said that they were always going to work on. They're not going to become Marvel. They're not going to become the corporation, and that's exactly what happened to a lot of them, right? And that's what's slowly happening to these Comicsgate channel. They're starting to do, uh, you know they're starting to become the monsters that they were fighting slowly and surely. It's just an evolution thing. I don't even know if they realize it. But yeah, the battered spouse syndrome, and with them, I said it in comics when I've talked about this before. It's kind of like Marvel will screw you over, DC will something in the comic books will screw you over, and they smack you, and you run away, and they're like, "Come back, baby, we'll change," and they come back and they smack you again. Well, with Comicsgate, I think where it's so divisive and there's two armies or whatever you want to say, it's the battered spouse syndrome side of it to where you would rather stay in hell because you know all the roads, because if you go out on your own, you're not going to know how to survive online anymore. You're talking to a social worker here, man. I could really go on and on about this. Daggone, the comments are flying by for me. There we go. Charlton 66. They keep wanting to hear it over and over because they want some type of validation. Yeah, and that also goes back to me leaving comic book groups and things like that. People come in there, they want some kind of validation, is the word I wished I'd used, to where they've been in the comic books a hot 5 minutes. They don't know what they're talking about. They haven't done the reading, the work. They haven't read enough to really form a real opinion. Instead of talking about, hey, I've just gotten the comics, I found this exciting, it blew my mind with this, I want to find some other stuff. They don't talk about where they're at in their hobby. They try to act like there's some kind of alpha male and there's their validation, if you will. Very good, Charlton 66. And I know your job in real life. I know why you know this. So you talk about being able to read people. I have no doubt about it. Yep, sequential art. I just want to make friends, enjoy great stories. Yeah, and sometimes you just got to get the elephant out of the room, creature. Sometimes you do just need to vent sometimes, or just get the elephant out of the room. This is, believe it or not, this stream is very light talking for me. This is just shooting from the hip, talking about things. I'm eventually going to get back around to talking about how I'm, refining the hobby for me, going back to what it was when I was, first started as a kid. No, no, no. An Iggy Pop book would have had to be awfully thin. That's funny. Iggy Pop, Scott Connor, an Iggy Pop book would have to be awfully thin. It had to be called Lust for Life, and to the superpower of Iggy Pop is hypnotizing chickens. Okay, creature. How about a crow question? Why do you think it just wrecks the emotions? The whole thing just emits pain and bittersweet loss because when James O'Barr did The Crow, if he's being perfectly honest with us, and I think he is, because we're going on decades now of this book, he wasn't so much doing art for art's sake. He wasn't so much doing a comic book to do a comic book for art's sake. He was doing therapy, venting, expressing emotions, getting things out of him over his fiancee getting hit and killed by a drunk driver while she was walking down the street. A senseless, spontaneous death of a person who was in foster care, and he finally found a human connection and love. That stuff is like cooking. All right. If somebody is cooking and they fill it full of love, you can't figure out why this tastes so good, because they filled it full of love. But if somebody is full of hate and anger and they hate their job and they're cooking for you, it'll make you sick. We're actually, I mean, I know it sounds out there, man, you know what I mean, but he put so much in it. We're connecting with him on an emotional level in that book of the pain. The looks on Crow's face, the music that he listened to, James O'Barr listened to, got a lot of the Cure and alternative 80s stuff in there, and the poems he did, and just the memories that he's putting in there of him and his love, and stuff like that. We're seeing reality, but it's also art. That's what I'm trying to say. The Crow is something I don't think will ever be reproduced in another book. I know I'm hyping the hell out of this, but if you read it, there's an emotional reaction that you just don't get out of any other book. Other books and stuff like that can touch you. You can make you fall in love with the characters. Change your life. I read Letters from the Earth by Mark Twain when I was 16, and that changed me quite a bit, at an impressionable age. And so that's what The Crow is for people. I mean, I can talk about The Crow all day long, but if I start talking about it, it stirs us up. If I start talking about the moments in the book, you start examining it too much, it will grab a hold of you. One of my themes on this channel is it's raining on a Sunday. Sunday's when you would get the pile of comic books and pile on the bed because you couldn't go outside. Don't read The Crow when it's raining, because it can't rain all the time. Yeah. Scott Connor, my wallet emits pain and bittersweet loss. Yes, yes, it does. But mine is actually getting better when it comes to the hobby. Kind of like asparagus. Yeah, yeah. By the way, I'm a teacher, but have a minor in social work. Nice, creature. Nice. I feel like I worked in schools as a contracted out as a therapist, TDT worker, and I've been in social work, for over 25 years. I think you went the right direction. The creator of Scud, the Disposable Assassin, started the book because of a bad breakup. It's like O'Barr, but he went the sad clown route. Tom Bagley. That's fascinating. I have read Scud, the Disposable Assassin, the Werewolf Farm. All right, that's the story I read. You know what I mean? And this is when it was coming out in the '90s or whatever. That's amazing. Okay, so other things, when you throw out some more questions and stuff, man. The time is flying by on this one, man. This is amazing. So basically, the fandom that's coming in are just it's a bunch of young people or people who haven't been in comic books a whole lot. I'm finding out that some of my friends in real life really don't participate too much online when it comes to comics. They know some pages, Facebook pages or something where they do comic book auctions. One of my buddies has a very small forum for collectors, if you will, and it's everybody kind of knows everybody in some way, shape, or form. That seems to be working. It seems like the smaller the bubble you have with this hobby, the more you're going to collect it. You end up reading what you like. Like I said, I'm reading these Elric books, right? I talk about Sword of the Atom. There was nobody for me to compare these books with, nobody to talk to them with. I'm sure there's a bit of a nostalgia on there, and that took a big hit. Was realizing that as I'm packing and unpacking some of my books with this move, there's some nostalgia there. You know what I mean? Uh, and one of the things that perfectly brings, and I didn't realize this until I packed these up and then went looking for the boxes because I had a moment of panic about not being able to find them. And I think Paulo made a joke about me. Somebody made a joke. I put on Facebook that I have moved everything myself. And somebody has said the funeral for my back will be held tomorrow or something. Paulo jumped in there and said he wants my Epic Illustrated magazines, right? But Epic Illustrated, I don't know why. Maybe it was my age. Maybe, I've already been reading before this and had a bunch of stuff. But for some reason, Epic Illustrated magazine is that one book that brings that nostalgia that can be exciting, sad, and make you miss the past. And a bunch of these stories still hold up. This is quality with the nostalgia. So, I was able to, I have all my Epic Illustrated in two little boxes like that. And that's what kind of prompted me to be saying, you really need to simplify the hobby. This is something you do on the side. This is something you enjoy to read. And it seems like all these other things have come in and become barnacles on the boat of being a hobby and stuff, right? Uh, Epic Illustrated being real important to me, the Watchmen being really important to me. You know what I mean? And I feel all right saying that because we're all comic book collectors here, so you know what I'm talking about. This isn't like some weird attachment thing or something, right? Or escape. But there's just an appreciation for the art form it's an art form that's disappearing. There's things in these older books where there's a quality there where there's this storytelling techniques that aren't being used. More, they're not decompressed to where you can read, like a lot of books now you can read like in 60 seconds to 2 minutes and stuff. You would really sit down and be thrown into these little worlds in these comic books and study what they did. What keeps drawing you back to it. You'd read it over and over, and it's like it would actually make you pick up a pencil sometimes and maybe start drawing or try to trace those pictures and stuff. And I don't think that was a juvenile tactic. That wasn't the reaction of a little kid. It was real inspiration that I'm sure hit a lot of people. So that's what I mean. If I'm going to read something, if I'm going to collect something, there's got to be a quality there. You know what I mean? A lot of this is stemming from that Legion of Superheroes Millennium 2 issue story. Go check out the video I uploaded right before I did the live stream. There's just been a lot of things that just brought a lot of clarity to it. And I can sit here and shake the cane all night long, but I'm the one letting this stuff get in my head online and stuff, right? And we can all control what we have online. Most of the time, somebody might pop up and surprise you. Something might pop up in your screen that you didn't want to see. It happens. It's not perfect. So I'm just kind of putting this out there because I'm probably going to make some people mad, not because not so much that it's Howlermouse, unfollowing them on Twitter. It's because somebody made my numbers go down. You know what I mean? It's not a personal thing. It's I'm a number and they're going to be gone. But yeah, I've got some people that I have had on Twitter a long time. Some people who are nice enough to kind of speak to me on there every now and then. I was shadow banned on Twitter for a while. That is a real thing. But but you also have these people that you start seeing you're just a brick in the wall, if you will, when it comes to Comicsgate or something. Are you on the fence? Are you saying something we want to hear? Well, we're going to use you as this little war over here or something, right? So yeah, what we got here? You need to find some 70 stoner that used to read the Conan mags. I grew up with those 70 stoners. It's realized. Oh, wait a minute. I just realized. Um, hey, Paulo said it was worth a try getting those epics. Hey, man, you never know what's going to happen, you know? So, I mean, here today, gone tomorrow. Epic Illustrated is better than 99% of everything on the current market. That's Scott Connor. Yeah, it is. Great stuff. Even though it started, even though it's a Marvel reaction to heavy metal, it still had its own identity and became something great. It was really good. I would love to see. And Alan Moore wrote a story in the last issue, I think. It seems like Alan even had Rick Veitch, Alan Moore. It had people in there who ended up helping form Vertigo. You know what I mean? It's really interesting. Some of the names you'll see in there. You need to Dennis Hayes says you need to find some old 70 stoner that used to read the Conan mags to chat about Elric. Yeah, well, like I said, I grew up with those people. Take that 70s show, all right, have everybody in the basement, then stick this little 5-year-old blonde-haired, bowl-cutted kid with no teeth. Had my front four teeth knocked out, if you will. Yeah, and there you go. Bags and bags of pulp magazines, Conan stuff, these Elric books. Yeah, I'm very interested. I know you were joking, Dennis, but I'm like that. That's. I was there. I'm very interested, Paulo. I'm very interested in reading Generation Zero by Pepe Romero. It was serialized and Epic Illustrated, but collected in a graphic novel by DC. I'm going to hold off talking about this because I've read that, but it's been a while. And actually, I think some of the Epic illustrated stuff may have tied into the DC graphic novel. We're going way back, Paulo, and out of left field on me, but that's fantastic. That's why I love doing this. Scott Connor, right there, he is. Yeah, Generation Zero. Okay, Scott Connor and Paulo can talk. All right, sorry guys, I'm working on I'm controlling the comments here. All in all, you're just another Howlermouse in the house. That's right. I can sing that in my head. Tom Bagley, was Archie Goodwin the lead editor of Epic through its early publication? Would make sense. He had a successful run with Warren magazine. Archie Goodwin, anything he touched had what I was talking about, in my opinion. Of even the failures that he was on. Archie Goodwin wrote one of the books for like New Universe and stuff. The Epic line. I'm not sure about him being editor on Epic Illustrated, but Archie Goodwin, just there was something about anything that Archie Goodwin touched was just it even if it wasn't great, it had some kind of heart to it. You know what I mean? Archie Goodwin was right there with Starman, for me there and stuff like that, right? But yeah, Archie Goodwin is one of those guys that I started noticing a lot of the books that I liked or characters I liked had ties to Archie Goodwin, which was amazing. So Archie Goodwin is, it seems to be like a lot of the old school guys in comics, working comics, miss him. That's how it comes off. And maybe it's part of whatever makes them miss him that's coming through the comics. You know what I mean? The guy definitely had the touch. Yeah, Scott Connor. I've never ever heard anyone say anything even remotely negative about Archie Goodwin. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Wasn't Goodwin the one who promoted Star Wars to Stan Lee? I've heard that, and actually, I want to say Howard Chaykin might have done an interview or something before he got sick of talking about Star Wars about that. So sequential art is bringing up some of those comic book lore things, things that were talked about, but it was just existed on the grapevine as you grew up. Maybe it's been verified since then. Yeah, Scott Connor's in there. Okay, so leaving Facebook groups. It's like you can't. abandon everything online when it comes to comics, but you can refine it. And that's kind of what I'm doing. Because I made the mistake of trying to get rid of all this stuff before and getting away from it. So, it's a beast that's there. It's a curiosity will make me go back, or there'll be some kind of comic book news, or there'll be things that people send me. That's been the big one that's made me go back and kind of look at some of this stuff on comic books online on social media. People will send me stuff. The video I shot today was the only reason it happened is because somebody pushed me into reading, that Legion of Superheroes Millennial #2, things like that. So it's not so much. I hate to use the word necessity because it's not, but it's one of those things better to have it, and not need it than to need it and not have it because it's just a headache. Oh, this is awesome. If you guys are listening to me talk later in the future and stuff, you need to be reading some of the conversations going on in the chat. They're just fantastic. So the other thing that I'm going to be doing is, like I said, is that I'm really going to be limiting who I talk to online about comic books if it comes to that, right? It's one of those things. There's too much room for misinterpretation. There's too much room for I can think of 100 things that I have run across doing this on YouTube for years and stuff. But there's a lot of wolf in sheep's clothing. I am not one of those people that victim blames, but I'm also one of those people that believes in the personal accountability. Know your surroundings, know the bad parts of town, and things like that. Be prepared. You do have a responsibility to take care of yourself. If you know better than to run out on the highway and play in the highway thinking the car is not going to hit you, then you're an idiot for going out at midnight in a bad part of town with a wallet with money. You know, Common sense things. So yeah, it's a lot of that. I've run across a few people over the years who I caught on to them pretty quick. Some of them I never caught on to, and then they just blew up and things like that. And that stuff will get attached to the comic books. There's a comic book or two from that era that I can't pick up and read because it takes me back. If you've watched my videos over the year, you know that I can whip out a comic book from 1983 and I can tell you where I was living. It triggers a memory, and I can tell you what was going on around the time that I bought it. So I always say, you got to watch what you put in your head. So that's one of the things. And the big one is that I've got a lot of comic books, or, I got great deals on comic books over the years. I've had people nice enough, I've had 2, 3 people nice enough to actually give me their collection because they found out about my YouTube channel or something. I've accumulated a lot of comic books over the last 10 years on top of the things that I accumulated since I was a kid, going back to 1977, inheriting, kind of holding on to some of the stepdad's collection, whatever's left over by the uncle, then what I was starting to buy on my own and stuff like that. And the reason that I'm saying this is because I have bought a set of shelves and they about buckled after I just got a few boxes on them and stuff, right? This collection I have is huge. There's a lot of stuff in there that'll never be worth money. There's a lot of stuff in there that I will never let go that will never be worth money, the read and stuff like that. But it's also about having a manageable collection right now at my age. But how much am I going to read in a lifetime? Now, old Scott Connor there, I've had the privilege of seeing his place and seeing all the collectibles and the comic books and the things that he has and stuff like that. Brother, if you ever have to move after this last experience I've had, I feel for you. I feel for you. So yeah, it's about having space to move on into the future. Trying to not get all existential and just say this like an everyday man here, but basically, in order for me to really enjoy this hobby, I need to have room for some quality stuff. I need to get rid of some of the stuff, some of the crap, some of the stuff that I've just held on to, hoping it would get better, things like that, and kind of get rid of it and just let it go. Now, I've done a purge here and there. I think the last one was about 3 years ago. I started purging comics about 2 or 3 months before the move, but that's the thing. It's one thing to control the information and control who you're with online, but it's another thing to get your house in order and stuff, right? So that's also going to be part of the hobby. And one of the things that I've sort of gotten away from with this hobby was, I started in, what was it, 1990. Comic books had a period where they jumped from 75 cents. I think for a short time, some books were 90, 95 cents. That could be that could just be a dream I'm having there. Then they jumped up to a dollar, then a dollar 25, a dollar 50, dollar 75, a dollar 95. And I swear, I think this was all within a year or two, right? And it was at that point I was like, nope, not going to do it. And that's where the Howler Hustle was born. There was a period of time where I might have touched my paycheck 3 or 4 times to buy comics. Everything I did was through trade, buying some stuff, selling some stuff. I hustled the books, or if I did touch my paycheck, it was a very good deal. I mean, good God, I got something like, there's a video somewhere where I think I got something like 37 issues of Hellblazer for 17 cents each. And that was just the Hellblazer in the box. There was more comics in there. So yeah, I need to get back to the part of it I enjoyed, and that was getting the good deal. I mean, I've still gotten good deals, great deals, and stuff like that. But I think I kind of went overboard a little bit because the comic scene at these flea markets and stuff around here, and at some of the conventions are drying up. And the places that they're not drying up, it's the same uh, people bringing the same vendors showing up, and their stuff's been picked up clean because they spend the summer taking those same boxes to several places. Still find good stuff. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think I had a moment there where I'm like, you know what, this stuff around here seems to be drying up. Better grab it. Better safe than sorry. You know what I mean? Eric Breen, aren't buckling shells a recurring theme with you? Yes, they are. I think I'm eventually going to have to just save up some money and get some carpenter to make me a customized shelves. I really do. I think it's what it's going to come down to sooner or later. So let's downsize, see if we can keep that from. I want to go look at some metal shelves uh, this weekend, maybe when I take back this other set that I got, which was a waste of money. I can get my money back. All right. What we got? Yeah, people are just all over this Archie Goodwin, and oh, they brought up Al Williamson. All right, I'm doing a show. I can't get distracted there. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta kind of grab the cane, admit that yeah, you've gotten older, but you've got some wisdom. You know, what I mean, you got some wisdom. You know where things are going to go, and you got to have some room for a few surprises and things like that, right? I mean, you can see this little pile of boxes here. Well, they're all along the wall. They're all here beside me, and they're all on the floor beside me and stuff. And then there's the next room where they're piled up wall to wall. It's ridiculous. So it's not about, I think what I'm trying to say is that I think I need to go for quality and not quantity. There's things I'll never get rid of, like my complete set of Atari Force, my complete set of Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew. Yes, I said it. My collection of little monsters, which I think I'll never complete because you just can't find those. Little things like that. There's still things that give me the thrill of the hunt and things that it's fun to run across them, even though I've never focused on them. And this is what I'm talking about. I can go on and on and on about the little things inside that makes this hobby fun, the little things I can read that I find some quality in and things like that. But to sit there and express them, it's a form of opening, TMI. It's you're sharing a part of yourself of why you love this hobby. The wooden oh man, they're flying by. Paulo Costa, there's a supporting character in Claremont's Wolverine solo series named Archie Corrigan. It was a homage to Goodwin's work on Secret Agent X9. Ooh, we're getting some good stuff in these comments. Creature said, if I lived in Tennessee, if I still lived in Tennessee, I'd do it for you. I appreciate that, Creature. That's very nice. So I think just kind of close this off a little bit and maybe get on to another topic here and stuff, because like I said, man, I think I got another hour in me if everybody wants to stick around and throw some questions. Is basically kind of getting out of the you know trimming down the collection, trimming down what I look at online with it, getting out a lot of these Facebook groups, turn it back into something that on a rainy Sunday I can get back in there and play around with and stuff, right? Keeping the little YouTube channel going. I've got some ideas for some videos now that I've got real internet here to play around with. Might see some different kind of videos from me randomly here and there. Just play around, and just simplify it again, purify it, if you will. It kind of reminds me of like the last Galactus story, right? In Epic Illustrated, John Byrne comes up with this fantastic story of like, this is the last Galactus story. That's what it's called, right? And you're following everything where it's millions of years in the future, and he's no longer obligated to keep his oath about staying away from Earth, so he goes and eats it. And he knew it was the crown jewel of the universe, right? But this is supposed to be the last Galactus story, and we end up getting a sci-fi mystery that ends with finding out that this is really just the beginning, and it's sort of an infinity loop and stuff, right? So, there you go. There's me, being all fancy there, with a little metaphor, a little comparison and stuff, right? But what did we have to do to get that story going? We had to burn away the earth. It had to be digested finally. So there had to be a little bit of destruction before there was some rebuilding. All right, man. I'm gonna go back and read these conversations in the comments. These are just fantastic. All right, guys. Like I said, I can hang out here or not. I know Gene Paul Ace Peters having an auction tonight. I don't see anybody leaving. Creature, you are making it more personal. Yeah, and that's just it. I think that's exactly maybe the word I'm looking for, making it more personal. Back to what it was when I was a kid. When as a kid, you discover the comics. It's all fresh and new. But that's not enough to keep you collecting for decades and stuff, right? It's not fresh and new. There's an art form there. There's things you find that hook you, things you love about it, things you hate about it, and things like that. And that's what it needs to be more of. I think a lot of stuff online kills that because there are people who didn't experience that. It's like it's what Charlton 66 said a minute ago, the validation. It's like they want some kind of validation in rank online, and you can tell they're bullshitting. Good internet speed, good lighting. Howlermouse is going to be a professional YouTube channel. We're working on it. And since I said that, let me take a moment here. I want to put the cane down, hold up my B-50s. I got this stick from Fred from the B-52s last year when I saw them in concert. But I want to ask, I don't want to look like a lot of other YouTube channels, but I have tried out a few little, I don't know, apps, if you will, downloaded a few things. But I want to do the thing where I can record my screen. All right. And I've tried a few of them and I wasn't happy with the results. If anybody has any suggestions of a simple and reliable screen recorder, I guess, even if it shows even if it uses, lets me use this camera to have me in the corner. I don't want to look like all the other YouTubers, but there's things I want to do where I want to record my screen. Message me. Okay. Let me know. Hey, Howler, do you have any local talent and kick-ass stuff that you can show off from the Appalachians? I'll look around. There's a couple guys around here that were self-publishing comic books. Believe it or not, I might have thrown some of those away. I do have 2-3 comics that this guy named Dennis was making based on his sort of like he was really doing for an underground comic book. I might show some of that stuff off. I'm sure if I got digging, I would find some things. And they're not from the Appalachians, but there's a fanzine that's about to come out, number 4. You can pre-order from the Alec Holland files for Swamp Thing fans. Stuff from around the world, articles and stuff like that. You can pre-order number 4. Just go to Twitter or something, Instagram, Twitter, and look up Alec Holland files, and to be able to get it, it's $10. I got number 3 of it. So yeah. And that's what I mean. That's another thing I'm saying. I'm finding really cool stuff online, even though I'm wanting to trim it and stuff, like the Alec Holland files, a fanzine that this guy does all on his own with green paper and a staple. And he even got, was it Steve Bissett or Rick Veitch? Somebody gave him 10 original drawings of the Swamp Thing to use however he wants. And he put some of them in the last fanzine. Scott Connor, yes, shoot, the Dionysus. I can't even say it tonight. Scott Connor knows the guy who makes underground comics I'm talking about. Dionysus, called the Dionysus cult. Yeah. Scott Connor, I have to show you the Kong crew. Scott, the Kong Cruise, that King that book from France that you have about King Kong, the kind of a retelling? Because I really wanted to see that for a while. Yeah, that's it. All right, guys, throw some questions at me. This will not be the last live stream. Of course, I have things to do and responsibilities, and it's really good, right? Um, so we're in the month of Halloween, my favorite holiday since I was a kid. I always love that. I've got several Rocky Horror Picture Show events around my area. Some of them you have to drive, they're all within an hour. I could be doing that this month. I like to whip out some, do the mandatory and cliched horror books, horror stories. We always should have time to talk about kaiju films, King Kong, New Godzilla, King Kong Skull Island, old monster movies, things like that. So yeah. Scott Connor, time to read Bradbury's The Halloween Tree. Yes, it is. And watch Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin. I still love that. I'm going to make my playlist on YouTube, finding all the old Halloween specials from when we were kids. There's a ton of them on there. If you get on there, they even have the Garfield ones if you're a Garfield fan, when Garfield Mania was everywhere, all over CBS. All right, guys. Well, I'm not seeing any questions pop up. And maybe, oh, here we go. Creature, I have written for several ElfQuest fanzines. I really enjoy fan-made stuff. I would love to see those because I didn't even know there was an ElfQuest fanzine. Now, I'm the kind of guy that knows there's fanzines out there, but I never would have thought. I knew ElfQuest had, Wendy and Richard Penny. I met them in Baltimore a year or two ago. I've never seen any fanzines for them, even though I know they have their fans who follow them all 40 years. There's a fanzine just for you about everything. Maybe not Ralph Snart. Ralph Snart should have a cult following. Ralph Snart is the most underrated comedy book ever made. And there should be a fanzine. Maybe I'll start it. It's all about drinking beer, going psycho, and pissing off a bridge. What current titles from Marvel and DC are you reading? None from Marvel. I'm trying to think. I'm hanging in there for Doomsday Clock. And one of the last things I ordered were they're reprinting a bunch of Watchmen accessory material from the 80s in hardback. Okay. I think it comes out next month, maybe. But what they're doing is they're coming out with a hardback edition of the DC role playing games of the Watchmen. There was a source book that I have that Alan Moore helped out with a little bit and gave its blessing. Dave Gibbons did some new art in it. And of course, it's a role playing game, but if you go through it, it enhances the Watchmen story. And this is from Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, right? You actually find out if you look at some of the pictures that are in it that Dave Gibbons did. When the Watchmen opens up with the comedian's death, he's sitting at a table like I am now, and he's writing a letter in his bathrobe. You get to see who he's writing the letter to, and it's very interesting. Little things like that. So they're going to be putting that in there. They had the first appearance of Rorschach in the DC universe, even though it was a dream sequence. And this one really bothers me because I pushed this book. I have mentioned this book many times over the years, but I think it's the question number 17. Denny O'Neil was writing it. And the question is on a plane, and Vic Savage, and he picks up a Watchmen book and he reads about Rorschach. He's reading the Watchmen, and he has this dream sequence where he meets Rorschach, and then he tries to act like Rorschach in the real world. It's kind of Dennis Cohen sort of giving the middle finger, I think, to Watchmen when it comes to the question, Rorschach being based on the question. And there's a little subtle things, little small things that people kind of missed when they read it, but when they point it out, they kick themselves. Like Vic Sage is in the snow almost dying. Rorschach died in the snow, things like that. And really, that's about the only thing I can think of. I'll check my Gmart list, but I give books a chance. They burn me. They're expensive, even though I get them for 35% off. Or the creator will absolutely show their ass online and let them do it, but I don't want to give my money to somebody like that. That's the problem. That's why I'm saying cutting off things on Twitter. I've been doing that for a while. I tried the new Conan series, but man, they have no idea what the character is. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of these creators that they don't do their homework. They don't have a love of the character. I knew I knew it, and I think I called it. And but with this current Marvel and the creators that they have, there is no way they can do a pure Conan book. They can't put their mindset in a Hyborian age. You know what I mean? They can't get out of the current times to talk about Conan. If you read Red Nails, there's one or two things there you would think are racist if you were thinking like today. And no, that's just how Conan and them talked. It's not racist, but people could go with it. It refers to the people of the South as the black people or the black women. That's just a description of them, and you know what they're talking about. And he even talks about fighting side by side with them and what great warriors they were. But people would cherry pick that stuff. So I knew Marvel. I'm so glad I got out. I didn't even get into it. When you sent me that Marvel 2099, not that Conan 2099 one shot, I was like, when he was in the Savage Avengers interacting with, I no, I'm like, that is not Conan. What can Marvel or DC do to get you back into modern comics, or are you done? I don't want to be done because I've collected for a while and I have hope that things turn around. But I really doubt it for the foreseeable future. All they have to do is write stories that are true to the characters, write quality stories. Dan Didio, when 52 started, did OMAC, and he wrote it like it was a Silver Age, but more Bronze Age Marvel book. It could have been the Hulk the way he was writing it. Going back to that, Dan Didio knows continuity. He loves comics, but he was a Marvel guy. He said it himself. So yeah, they know how to fix the comics. So I don't know what the thing is. The other thing is that stop making excuses. Um, Rich Johnston has an article you can probably find saying something like, "Does Doomsday Clock still matter? Is it still going to be a payoff in the DC continuity?" And he wrote this humongous novel of an article, and he pulled comics and pictures out, and he went way back 3 or 4 years ago and stuff, and he's shown you how all this stuff in DC, from the Button, the Flash and Batman, the Button way back when, and Jor-El and the Ozymandias thing, all the way to now, Flash comics and all this stuff, these one shots. You would have to have a cork board as big as this wall back here with a lot of yarn to put together how he says it does still matter. No, get away from all that. You know what I mean? Get away from all that. Just do a freaking comic book. You know what I mean? Do a freaking comic book. Good guy versus bad guy, character development, have the stories matter, have the mean things, have it move the characters, have things happen for a reason. Don't waste anything. Stop doing stories that have an agenda, or that you can't. You tell the fans stick with our comics for 2 years and there'll be a big payoff, and then we're going on 3, almost 4 years, and there's been no payoff. Just follow through on what you say. Whoa! The comments took off, ladies and gentlemen. But the other thing is that there's a lot of alternatives. Scott's talking about it. He's been telling people for years that there's other stuff out there that's really good. DC Comics and Marvel needs to stop rehashing stories. I talk about that in my Millennials Legion of Superheroes thing. They're just rehashing stories. They're flat out telling you they're doing that now. Stop reinventing the characters. Stop, pay the. If you make money in the long run, pay pay the royalties, and that inspire when people get paid and they're getting rewarded and their characters are taken off. You have potential to make more money. Wolverine was an accident. He was supposed to show up just to fight the Hulk. Deadpool, his first appearance is a joke. His second appearance is a joke, and all of a sudden, took off. In the late '90s, he was an accident. You make more money by letting people be creative. People want to see new things. Okay, I mean, Cosmic Ghost Rider. People love Cosmic Ghost Rider, but you've taken the idea of Ghost Rider, who looks like the Ghost Rider from Jen Valentino's Guardians of the Galaxy run, and you merged him with Frank Castle. I'm sick of this. There's nothing new. It's just rehashing the same characters, and it's the same 52 cards in a deck of cards. You're just trying to reshuffle them, and every now and then you're getting a marker trying to mark a card like we won't notice. There is no fan mentality associated with the big two that is as much an obstacle as diamonds hold on the market. We got a monopoly on the distribution. That's messed up. Yep, that fan mentality is pretty pathetic. I had 3 words for Cosmic Ghost Rider. Let's hear him, Scott. Oh. All right, guys, I am going to wind it down just because of the material. They're not family friendly. Yeah, I got you. I got a few things you can say, but I'm going to wind it down just basically because I had to say what I had to say for tonight's theme, if you will. A lot of great conversation going on in the comment section, so I will be doing it. Sequential Geek, Haller, you didn't read my comment. Let me back up here, Sequential Geek. You got a couple here. All right. Tell you what, just for you, Sequential Geek, do it again. Okay, don't worry about it. All right. So basically, that's some show. I could talk about other stuff, but I really hate to have it lost in a two or 3 hour live show here. But go check out my last video. I'm gonna start trying to get some consistent material out there. Some will be good, some will be bad, and I've got a few ideas for a different kind of videos. So I'll be playing around with that. I've been saying that for years, but as you can see, I've got the quality video and internet now. Rob Ripa, thank you, man. Thanks, man. Again, everybody go check out Rob Ripa's channel. Check out his original music. He's fantastic. He's great. And every now and then I pop it up myself there. I'm pretty sure he's in some of my playlists that I have of music and stuff. All right, guys, be cool to each other. Jump over to Gene Paul Ace Peters in the future. I know nobody may know what I'm talking about, but Gene Paul Ace Peter, go to his channel. He's having an auction for some comic books. If I had the mad money right now, I would I'd go after a Conan #1. I know he has. So, all right, guys, later. Be excellent to each other.